He's like, I'm the head of state and I'm here to do business too. I personally am basically like the reverse of Elon Musk, you know? Someone who was elected as the head of state who also wants to do business deals. He's someone who is a businessman who's doing head of state stuff to basically do business deals. We're two sides of the same coin, you know? It's cool. My goat is
I would have
live.
done them on April 1st. Believe it or not, I'm a little superstitious. No, literally, we had it planned for April 1st. I said, let's make it April 2nd. You know how much money that costs? That costs a lot of money just that one day, but we're going to do it on April 2nd,
for the playlist.
I think. Is that right?
That's right.
Okay, thank you.
The lead prosecutor in Eric Adams' case resigned today, saying anyone who didn't press forward would be a coward. What's your reaction to that and to the overall implication that politics were at play here?
Well, I don't know about it. I mean, obviously, I'm not involved in that. But I would say this, that if they had a problem, and these are mostly people from the previous administration, you understand, so they weren't going to be there anyway. They were going to all be gone or dismissed. If not, they know on Tuesday they're all being dismissed. You know, the whole country is being, because what you do is you come in and you put new people in. So when you say resign, they're going to be gone anyway. But I know nothing about the individual case. I know that they didn't feel it was much of a case. They also felt that it was unfair with the election. Look, I would know that better than anybody because I was weaponized more than any human being in the history probably of the world. And I won the election in a landslide, winning all 7 swing states, winning the popular vote and everything else because the people got it. It was weaponized. And I was weaponized literally weeks before the election. But I think there's also something to be said. I read that. There's something to be said for what they were doing. It looked to me to be very political. But why didn't they bring this up like 4 or 5 weeks ago, 6 weeks ago, or whenever it happened? You know, they just sat around and didn't complain. Then all of a sudden they complain, and they know they're all being dismissed anyway. So, you know, that's the way it is. That's called politics, I guess. Yeah, please.
Earlier this week, you predicted that all hell would break loose if Hamas didn't hand over all of their hostages. What do you expect to happen tomorrow in terms of
I don't know what's going to happen tomorrow at 12 o'clock. It was up to me. I'd take a very hard stance. I can't tell you what Israel's going to do. But I watched the last people come out, and I looked at a before and an after picture. One guy was a big, strong, healthy guy. You could say he was a little bit overweight. He's not overweight anymore. He looks like he just came out of the Holocaust. It looks like a Holocaust picture. I've looked at him for a long time. And they've been treated very badly.
Young lady one of the craziest parts about the American president saying this is the other side is never reported on. Like, you literally saw for months, okay, Palestinian prisoners being released that look incredibly in dire conditions, in horrifying conditions, because they were directly tortured, okay? And now that, like, Israel decided to do counter-propaganda on that front, it's over. There's not a mention of that at all. And virtually every single person is just, like, talking about the last 3 people that were released. They were in horrible conditions because of Israel. Like, what are we talking about?
They said, no, we've decided we're going to release the hostages. So I actually think they should release all of the hostages. Remember, they're probably as bad as they looked. I mean, I don't like to say that, but they looked real bad 4 days ago, 5 days ago when I saw them. And the young ladies that came out were treated really badly. You don't know what happened, but I do. They were treated really badly. But as bad as they look, the ones that follow probably will look a lot worse. I think they're sending out their most healthy, and they've been hit hard on that, Hamas. So they probably didn't want to release. But they changed their mind. I said 12 o'clock tomorrow, and all of a sudden, 2 days ago, yesterday, they said they're going back to releasing. But this all started by them saying, we are not going to release any more hostages. And then yesterday, they said they are going to release the hostages. But I think they should release all of the hostages.
About 75,000 workers took this deferred resignation. It's a little bit short of the 5 to 10% goal you were hoping to hit. Do you think you'll have to make up the rest of that number in layoffs?
No, look, that's 75,000 more than we would have had. And nobody knows what that final number is because in the end, I think a lot of people aren't going to show up to work. A lot of people, they got used to staying home and quote, working. But, you know, I wonder if they had other jobs or other things. You know, they have a lot of problems with that. No, 75,000 is a lot of people. And we paid them well. You know, we gave them a lot of months of severance pay, if you call it that. But no, I think you'll probably have some more too, in addition. It's a big, tremendous saving for our government. We want to downsize government, but make it better. Run it better, but downsize. Yeah, please.
So, can I ask about the UK? I understand that you had a phone call with Keir Starmer
I
yesterday.
did. I just signed a letter to him. He asked for a meeting, and I agreed to the meeting. We're going to have a friendly meeting. Very good. We have a lot of good things going on. But he asked to come and see me, and I just accepted his asking.
Do you have a date for that, sir? And what do you hope to
Very soon. I think he wants to come next week or the week after.
And what do you hope to discuss?
I don't know. It was his request, not mine. But, you know, I met him twice already. We get along very well. He's a very nice guy. Thank you very much, everybody. Thank you. Thank you very much. Appreciate it. Thank you, Brian.
Will there be carve-outs, sir?
Thank you, press. Thank
In
you.
the tariffs?
Thank you, press. Thank you, press.
Do we deserve this? Is that what America deserves for its crimes? I mean, I don't think anybody deserves this. I think, ironically enough, these are the same crimes that America was committing around the globe, but now is committing to itself in terms of the shock doctrine, in terms of forced austerity measures and crippling the economy at the behest of private capital. We're doing that, but now domestically. Things that we have done globally, which I think are completely unacceptable, completely inappropriate, has caused a lot of pain. We are doing to ourselves. We've been doing to ourselves these things as well, but I think we're doing this to ourselves even harder now than ever before, and in a more aggressive rate than ever before. I work for the federal government. Everyone is scared. We all about to be shit canned. We took government jobs for less pay, for job security and pensions. Now none of that matters. Yeah. This was the executive order that Trump signed before the. Oh yeah. This is the new incredible executive order from Donald Trump. You know, saving the American population. President Trump signs an executive order halting federal funding for schools that mandate the COVID vaccine. It's his COVID vaccine. He took credit for it. Okay. He talked about Operation Warp Speed. And now he's like, oh, if you take it, if you make it mandatory, yeah, you don't get federal funding. What an insane set of circumstances, dude. I mean, what is happening, dude? Incredible stuff. Constantly in this weird dynamic where on the one hand, he's like, remember when I did the COVID vaccine and it was awesome and it was so sick and I saved so many lives? Biden could never. And then simultaneously being like, and yeah, if you make the vaccine mandatory, then, if you actually get people to use the vaccine that I made, by the way, with my own two hands, we're going to take funding away from you. Crazy how we haven't even been a month into Burger Reich. I know. They're intentionally tanking the economy. I think they are just following through on the libertarian dreams that many wealthy people have fantasized about, purposely dismantling the federal regulatory state piece by piece at the behest of tech giants and CEOs and the executive class. So that they can make more profits off of all of these previously government-controlled sectors, and also simultaneously destroy the regulatory state. Liz Franczak thinks they want to do a new Bretton Woods, but in Florida. Yeah, I think that could be the case. It's very difficult. I do interviews all the time lately, and one of the questions always is like, well, what do we do here? Like, what do you think is going to happen? And I don't know. I don't know where to go from here right now. All I know is that we need better leadership. And it's very difficult to figure out like exactly what's going to happen, exactly how competent they are. Here, by the way, speaking of which, the prosecutor who blew the whistle on the Adams deal resigned from the DOJ. She was a Federalist Society member and a Scalia clerk. Okay, so there's this side of the process too, which is crazy. Like you got Reagan judges on the federal courts stopping Trump's like insanely unconstitutional agenda. You got Federalist Society judges being like, this is so corrupt that I can't deal with this. Like you're ruining an active investigation into obvious corruption of the highest order by doing more corruption, by doing more quid pro quo. I wish instead of completely wiping out federal agencies, they just move the headquarters to a different regions of the country. Can just one person go to jail? No. I mean, no, not at all. You can't do that. You can't send anybody to jail. God forbid you send even a Democrat to jail. That means a powerful person in a position of, power can ever get legal scrutiny. And that's a dangerous precedent to set. We can't do that. God forbid we do that. We cannot do that. Ay. It's a dire situation, dude. What is most demoralizing is that my normie friends are like, yeah, man, that's awful. Anyway, these are college-educated resistance libs. Fuck that Federal Society judge, man. Does she think this whole time their legal framework was at all legit? No, they are just opportunists. They want to advance their careers. Some of them are naturally conservative. Some of them basically lean into that kind of politics, but it doesn't really matter. What's the difference between Asmongold and Matt Walsh? Asmongold doesn't fully believe the things that he's saying, but he knows that it's like getting him a lot of views, so he's saying them, right? Matt Walsh does believe the shit that he's saying. Bro, where in the fuck in LA can you buy wintergreen Zins? Nowhere. I'm still holding on to every time I'm like running out of flavored Zins, someone just sends me a care package. How long till riots? I doubt that riots will happen in this country. We are very sedated. We are a servile people. We fancy ourselves to be revolutionary people, but we are very docile people, I think. The revolutionary stint of America was purposely gutted, partially as a direct consequence of our neoliberal dominance, post-Cold War, post-World War II, so much prosperity, so much dominance, and Americans have designed a system that shelters them from all of the violence that keeps it together. Look at Afghanistan. Look at America's war on terror. Americans still maintain the position that they're anti-war, not recognizing that war is a constant part of American existence. It's just that we've basically outsourced it. This was amazing, by the way. This is the new sector of health and human services, ladies and gentlemen. Remember this? Just got married. Homosexuality was a phase, says Tim Dillon. She's a beautiful angel, Tim. Easy to see how she ungayed you. Is this real? Yeah, no, it was real. This is not a fake tweet. I think he might have deleted it, but I remember seeing it in real time, live when this tweet was out. We'll do the RFK Jr. compilation of all of the insane things that he said about vaccines and the like in a little bit, but you know, awesome stuff overall. Brilliant minds in charge of all of these departments. It's a really interesting predicament because, like, on the one hand, you think about like Pete Hegseth or Tulsi Gabbard, right? But their positions in government are already like positions that require you to be very violent. And also, if you're incompetent, that's not necessarily the worst thing, right? The American war machine and the person most responsible for the American war machine is an incompetent, drunk asshole. Maybe that's not the worst thing. The Department of Health and Human Services requires competent leadership because it actually does touch the lives of many Americans in a very meaningful way. It is supposed to be the umbrella organization that controls so much of the regulatory space in terms of health and wellness. And the fact that you have a guy who is antagonistic to medicine, modern medicine in general, leading the charge there is truly terrifying. And one of the first initiatives that they put forth was, of course, taking out mood stabilizers and antipsychotics, assess the prevalence of and threat posed by the prescription of selective serotonin reuptake inhibitors, antipsychotics and mood stabilizers, stimulants, and weight loss drugs. Incredible stuff for them to come out and just be like, you know what we need to do at a time when seemingly week after week, there is another dude with a lithium prescription that is off the medication or just never really got the medication necessary to combat whatever is going on up there, has ease of access to an arsenal of weapons and just goes into a fucking school and lights it up. What we should do is make sure that there are less mood stabilizers. It's great. A perfect combination. Readily available weapons everywhere, okay? And no health care. Or even with the lucky few that have access to health care, once they do get that health care, once they do get a script that the doctor told them to take, they won't be able to take that script, that prescribed medication, because we decided it's bad for you. Cool stuff. I wonder what that will do to the suicide rate in this fucking country that's already incredibly high to the combination of the factors that I mentioned, which is healthcare is inaccessible and paywalled, and also on top of that, weapons are very easy to acquire. Great stuff. You know, I look at this nation, I look at this wonderful nation, and I think to myself, you know what this nation needs? More insanity, okay? Yeah, Republicans love talking about how gun violence is a mental health problem and then also turn around and go, we are not doing anything about mental health. As a matter of fact, we are not going to improve mental health in this country. We're going to make it worse. I honestly don't get how people can hear you say these things and just be like, this guy's an idiot. I mean, it's pretty easy. I think people just say that because of partisan perspectives. They're not applying reason or logic to the equation at all. I think they've been prone to hate, and it's understandable. That's it. That's where it comes from. It's not about personally thinking about what I'm saying and maybe thinking, all right, well, there's some truth to all of this. I get it. Has Hassan been streaming for 4 hours? No, I've been streaming for 1 hour and 3 minutes. I've only been streaming for an hour so far. A lot of suicide talk happening now on the CPTSD forums because of that from the White House. Yeah, that's the other side. Like, there's CPTSD, but then there's also PTSD for veterans. There's also that too. Like, what do you think will happen to the veterans when they don't have access to the SSRIs? Great stuff, definitely. Like, Americans medicate not because they, I don't know, are predisposed to insane levels of consumption and everything is burger. Every solution is just like consume more product, consume more commodities. There's kind of a reason for why a lot of Americans require this medication. There are a lot of things that require a multi-pronged approach. There are a lot of issues in this country. Virtually every issue in this country requires a multi-pronged approach. But instead of trying to address all of those problems individually and then fix virtually every aspect of society that is designed in a way to make sure that you're maximizing profits for shareholders, instead of undermining that structure and fixing it at the behest of the citizenry, we've decided to make things worse, okay? And take away all of the remaining SSRIs is not the end, you fucking ape. Zero, everything is about you. Zero. Yes, I think this existence, like your existence this way, is certainly proving that medication is bad to take. Yeah. No, go ahead. Prove the point that I was making already. I also never said SSRIs is the end-all be-all. I said that for a lot of the problems that Americans face, the solutions are complex. It's multifaceted. Okay, I'm drunk right now, but okay, chatter. I mean, it's 12:44 here in California, so I don't know where you're at, but goddamn. Don't check logs on stream, but the last day they logged in here says a lot. Oh, Jesus Christ. Virtually everyone's lives would be better if they had ease of access to mental health treatment, okay? That's all I'm going to say. I love you, chatter. You are loved, regardless of your disagreement with me right now in your drunken state, okay? Anyway, let's continue. Mass layoffs are beginning on federal workers. Here we are.
Now to Washington, and the Trump administration's beginning mass layoffs of federal workers impacting multiple agencies. Tens of thousands of employees are expected to lose their jobs. Our senior political correspondent, Rachel Scott, is tracking the latest from the White House. Good morning, Rachel.
Rebecca, good morning to you. And federal workers who did not resign as part of that buyout offer were warned that they could possibly be laid off or fired. And this morning, we are learning that mass layoffs have started across multiple federal agencies. This morning, the Trump administration taking its sweeping efforts to shrink the size of the federal workforce one step further, ordering agencies to lay off nearly all probationary employees, meaning those hired within the last 1 or 2 years. A move that could impact as many as 220,000 federal workers. At the Department of Veteran Affairs alone, more than 1,000 new workers were dismissed. Overnight, the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau also firing term employees, with expectations that the rest may be fired today, leaving a skeleton staff of around 5%. The CFPB and VA are just two of several agencies that have started to cut federal workers so far. The administration also targeting the Department of Education and the Environmental Protection Agency. The largest federal employee union slamming the layoffs, calling it a blatant violation of the principles of fairness and merit that are supposed to govern federal employment, and saying the firings are about power. At some agencies, workers learned by email they had been laid off. But at the Office of Personnel Management, others found out on a call.
You will receive your termination notice via email shortly. As a result, your employment with the Office of Personnel Management will end today.
Elon Musk, who has billions of dollars in federal contracts and is spearheading the efforts to slash government spending, also calling for the elimination of whole agencies. Musk sitting down with Indian Prime Minister Modi Thursday before he met with President Trump. The president unsure the capacity of Musk's meeting and whether Musk was acting as a private citizen wanting to do business in India or a member of the administration.
I would imagine he met possibly because, he's running a company.
Trump pushed on how a foreign leader may know the difference.
Well, he's meeting with me in a little while, so I'm going to ask him that question.
He's like, I'm the head of state and I'm here to do business too. I personally am basically like the reverse of Elon Musk, someone who was elected as the head of state, who also wants to do business deals. He's someone who is a businessman who's doing head of state stuff to basically do business deals. We're two sides of the same coin, It's cool.
So the Indian prime minister was also asked if they discussed any business. He would only say that he has known Elon Musk for a very long time, guys.
All right, Rachel, thank you so much for your reporting.
The Department of Education canceled more than $350 million.
The way media has just reported these as mass layoffs is absurd. The firings are illegal. You can't just mass terminate federal employees without cause, even if they're probationary. Even if they're probationary, people are losing their health care and lives are being torn apart. It's so fucking upsetting. Yeah, remember the 23% underemployment statistic that we looked at yesterday? 23% of the current existing workforce is either doing part-time jobs or basically makes less than $25,000, which is a poverty wage, okay? Now, remember, the reminder here is that obviously the people that are currently being fired are not exactly caked up, but they at least have like decent jobs in comparison to the people making $25,000 a year. And we're firing them by the tens of thousands as well. Not only is this firing process unimaginably cruel, okay, it's also not done for good reason, and it will lead to a lot of these services that people rely on that they don't even realize that they rely on to go away, to be crippled. Of course, saying that this is illegal is virtually inconsequential in this process because what are you going to do about it is basically the attitude that is demonstrated by this administration over and over again. A lot of people also don't understand that the federal government in and of itself does have a bunch of jobs that are just simply good to have, right? Not every single person is dealing with issues in the most efficient way possible. But it doesn't matter. It's not supposed to be that way. Jobs are given to people in many instances, whether it's the federal government or even in private enterprise, not because you have to have this many people working on this job, but sometimes jobs are given to people because it's good to have jobs. It's good to keep people busy. It's good to make sure that they have a way of purchasing more commodities, to have disposable income. It's an important facet of the federal government, okay? And in many circumstances, considering, especially on the private sector, how much these guys engage in layoffs, most of the jobs that were previously done by 5 people, 6 people are now being done by 1 person or 2 people as a consequence of technological improvements that make the workforce more productive. But that also means that there are less people making an honest living in that process. And that's a bad thing for the economy. Saying that helps the conservatives' points that these people don't do shit and should be fired. Yes, because conservatives are stupid. Conservatives are stupid and live in a fantasy world where they think every single person on the job site is maximizing their efficiency at every point, not recognizing that they themselves in their own immediate workplaces are probably playing that very same role. Okay, whether it's a blue collar job or a white collar job, whether you're on the assembly line of some sort, you are not maxing out your efficiency at every given point. And it's understandable that you're not doing that. You're not supposed to do that. It's ridiculous to do that, especially if you're working for somebody else. The question I have for people is, and I guess like if you want to have this conversation with conservatives, you can have it on the basis of AI, because they were genuinely fearful of artificial intelligence and self-driving cars taking away key parts of the trucking sector, right? They were truly worried about that. And the question remains, if AI and self-driving cars are going to eradicate the trucking sector, is that the best possible thing to do when we're moving forward? Should there not still be someone that sits on top of that truck, even if there's a FSD structure that exists? Okay, we criticize, or not criticize, but like we make fun of Japan, for example, where there's like so many people working in these like ridiculous positions. There's always like an old person that covers like 4 sides of any sort of construction, where they're just sitting there with a light stick in their hands going like this all day, every day. Why does that guy do that? Now, obviously, he's too old to be doing that to begin with, and it's crazy that he's still working. But why is that guy doing that job? Does he have to do that job? Could that job be relegated to automated light stick? Probably. Definitely, as a matter of fact. It's not necessarily just because of safety, chatters. A big part of why these jobs exist is so that there is money to be given to these people so they can make a fucking honest living. People don't understand that. I agree that maximizing efficiency is bad for working conditions, but framing these jobs the only way to give people money isn't the right rhetoric when talking to conservatives about this. No, I'm not simply talking about this from the perspective of these are jobs that need to exist so that people get paid. I'm simply tackling the concept of why jobs exist to begin with in certain sectors. Okay. In order for a society to be healthy and to function, you got to get people jobs, okay? You got to make sure that they're fulfilling a role, a duty, okay? We need that. We need that more than anything else. But on top of that, a lot of these fucking jobs that are being eliminated right now are profoundly important anyway. And the consequences of eliminating these jobs and these mass layoffs is only going to be seen further down the line. Okay.
Dollars in spending yesterday for what it called woke initiatives, and much deeper cuts could be ahead. President Trump wants his pick to lead the department, Linda McMahon, to dismantle it entirely. But many people are confused over what the...
I'm a probationary employee that took the fork offer and still got fired late last night by email. If you're like me, you can still file an appeal with the MSPB for wrongful termination, even if you're probationary.
department does and how school districts could be affected. Caitlin Huey-Burns is on Capitol Hill. Caitlin, good morning.
Hey, good morning, Nate. Well, you may know billionaire CEO Linda McMahon is the CEO of...
I don't disagree, but those people can't be doing nothing. Making things more efficient and cutting worthless jobs isn't inherently bad. It's about how the surplus produced is allocated. Yeah, except it is inherently bad. The proper process in this circumstance is not to fire people. Let's say technological efficiency has made it so that you can get the same work done a decade prior in literally 2 hours, okay? A decade ago, you could get the same workload done over the course of an 8-hour workday, okay? Now you can do it in 2 hours. What is supposed to happen in a normal society, in an evolved society, is that you still get paid the same amount of money, okay, and you work 2 hours instead of the 8. But what obviously capital owners want to do in that process is fire all of the additional employees and make sure that 1 or 2 people are now tasked with this because they can do the entire workday's workload in 2 hours. That's efficiency. That's productivity. That's what this means when people say, oh, productivity's increased, whereas wages have remained stagnant. Okay? To your point, China has automated seaports. They still have longshoremen, but they work in a chair and use joysticks to... Exactly. You have to have people still working. Technology is supposed to be a benefit to take away the burden of day-to-day work, okay? It's not supposed to be utilized in a way to offset the existing labor force. It's not supposed to be utilized in a way where you're engaging in mass layoffs. That is what's so silly about this conversation. And many Americans who are primed to believe that capitalism is good, unironically write away their own death warrants, okay? They don't realize it's like, no, we have to be super invested in efficiency. It's like, it's okay. It's okay to have efficiency at the job site. But what you fail to comprehend is that that efficiency is not supposed to displace you. That efficiency is supposed to reduce your burden. It's supposed to reduce your workload, not actually keep your workload the exact same, but now your output is 10x because of technological advancements. That's the major problem. That is, I think, in this day and age, with AI becoming a conversation at the forefront of what will happen in the next step with labor, which is, I guess, if you want to consider it like the next industrial revolution, okay? A lot of people who are so brain broken by capitalism being the only game in town, so fearful of the alternatives, have refused to reckon with what will happen once so much of the labor force is displaced. What do? Do you become a Wall-E style a person stuck to a chair that's like constantly consuming stuff? Is that your only purpose in life, is to become a part of the consumption engine? And then those who are not a part of that consumption engine are working the assembly lines and working for meager wages and dire conditions and worse conditions as we supercharge the exploitation? Is that what we're supposed to be doing? Is that the perfect future? Is that the utopian future that technology and all of its endless bounty was supposed to offer us? It's crazy. It's crazy that so many people do unironically feel like, well, I guess that's just the way things are. Even from a capitalist point of view, you're supposed to slow hiring, then trickle layoffs and buyouts to not collapse the local economy. People think food stamps is about being altruistic and not about keeping the stores open and the crime rate down. Exactly. That's the other side of this process that people don't understand. Wealthy libertarians used to call welfare the riot tax because they understood that without any social safety nets, there would be too much chaos and too much instability. But these guys forgot that aspect, okay? Or at the very least, they're stress testing how much they can destroy the working poor without ever having to deal with the violent consequences that are inevitable. I thought food stamps were subsidizing farmers. It subsidizes everything. Food stamps are there to subsidize Walmart paying very little to its workforce. I manage a team in corporate America. I've been put on notice that if I do not train the new skills into my team and their work can be done with AI or automation, then I have to lay them off. It's insane. I don't understand how people can't comprehend what future we are leading, what future we're bouldering towards, like a very negative one, not a positive one at all. Okay. How do people not see that?
WWE, the former CEO, and she also served in the cabinet in Trump's first term. But now she's in the unique position of trying to lead an agency that President Trump wants to get rid of.
I mean, there's a certain group right now that's going insane over your chair and the cost it has. Yeah, ironically enough, I got it for free. Logitech sent it to me for free, but of course I would pay for it.
And I am really all for the president's.
Now let's talk about what actually matters, okay? the fucking Department of Education being abolished. Eyes on the prize, everybody. If you're coming in here to be like, I am going to advance the agenda of my favorite content creator online by, sparking the flames of drama at a time when the fucking Department of Education is slated to be abolished, when tens of thousands of federal employees are being laid off, and this is what you care about, I'm sorry, you are a very unserious person. I know that this sounds like fun stuff to focus on. I get it. I totally get it. Especially because it keeps your brain occupied at a time when change seems so far away. Okay? But goddamn, please, I don't want to yuck your yum. Okay? I do not want to yuck your yum. If this is what you fancy, if this is what you like to do, great, more power to you. Okay? But don't try to masquerade this as some sort of serious political commentary. You understand? With all this DOE talk, what's your take on homeschooling? I think it should be abolished. I think it should be illegal. And in many competent countries, it is. I wish these cheese-brain YouTube drama frogs would get back to their financial aid office jobs and beating their shit off to them two boys on Supernatural.
Mission, which is to return education to the states.
At her confirmation hearing Thursday,
in the background? I don't even know what the fuck's going on
Linda
there,
McMahon
honestly.
acknowledged that doing away with the Department of Education would require an act of Congress.
It is set up by the United States Congress, and we work with Congress. It clearly cannot be shut down without it.
While President Trump has long pledged to abolish the agency.
Oh, I'd like it to be closed immediately. Look, the Department of Education's a big con job.
On Thursday, McMahon suggested that some of the department's core functions could be moved elsewhere.
It is not the president's goal to defund the programs. It is only to have it operate more efficiently.
Established by Congress in 1979, the Department of Education has an $80 billion budget. But most of the funding for education comes from state and local governments, with the federal government contributing only about 13%. The agency provides financial assistance to low-income schools, administers Pell Grants, oversees federal student loans, and enforces rules around civil rights and students with disabilities. Arnie Duncan ran the Department of Education under President Obama and says states are already in charge.
What the Department of Education does is adds additional resources to make sure children with special needs have access to public education. Children who need access to food have that. children who need access to pre-K has that. So to somehow act like the U.S. Department of Education is in charge of education in America is beyond dishonest.
Now, the Trump administration is considering executive action that would direct the Department of Education secretary to put forward a plan.
Yeah, Biden could not abolish student loan debt, which was in his legal purview, okay? Which it, like, regardless of whatever the Supreme Court says, like, he absolutely had the right to do that, okay? Meanwhile, Donald Trump is literally abolishing the Department of Education in its entirety. Oh my God. What a ridiculous situation we're in, dude. What a crock of shit this is. How did you predict this? What is this? Oh, shut up. That's... What? What? Yeah, Mankind. No. Undertaker throws Mankind off top of a Hell in a Cell. Oh my God, you got me. You got me. I watched the clip. I watched your clip. Bergamania strikes again. I'm pretty sure he just got Trump to nominate our North Dakota State Superintendent as the new Assistant Director of the Department of Education. In her statement, I'm excited to support over 49 million students in America. I think it's really funny to think that Donald Trump consistently states that countries like Norway, Sweden, Finland, and even China are so good at education, right? Their education is so much better than the United States of America. And it's really interesting because on the one hand, he recognizes that. On the other hand, he doesn't recognize how they got there or why they're there and why America is not there. Donald Trump was truly interested in fixing America's awful education standing in the world. He would probably look a little bit deeper. He would maybe scratch the surface, okay? I tweeted about this yesterday. Donald Trump, or 2 days ago, Trump talking about shutting down the Department of Education while hyping up Norwegian and Chinese education is insane. These countries have well-funded public education systems. Anyway.
To diminish the agency. Now, anything to get rid of the Department of Education would have to be passed by legislation in Congress. But President Trump is expected to push leaders up here on Capitol Hill for just exactly that. Tony?
Reagan tried it, couldn't do it. Maybe Trump will accomplish it. Caitlin, thank you very much. Appreciate it. We'll keep following it. Other developments in Washington, mass firings of federal workers are underway this morning, part of the Trump administration's effort to dramatically cut back on the government overall. The firings could only number in the hundreds of thousands. And in another dramatic change, the president is promising more tariffs, this time on any country that has a tariff on us. He says basically, if they charge us, we're going to charge them right back. Nancy Cordes is at the White House with more on what all this means. Nancy, good morning.
Good morning, Tony. This can be confusing, so here it is in a nutshell. Currently,
National Institute of Health News. My girlfriend just told me that they just fired all of the staff scientists and senior postdocs within her branch of the Neuroscience Research Program Department. Sorry for spam. Last message about it. I mean, who needs neuroscientists, dude, at the National Institute of Health? That's not necessary research, dude. I don't understand. Why would you ever need that? The neuroscientist is the natural. Also, yes, I'll have you know, a neuroscientist is the natural enemy of a brainworm. Okay. And considering that the HHS is now run by the worm in the brain, I suspect that many actions will be taken against those who want to eviscerate brainworms. Are neuroscientists woke now? Yes. My lab lost R&D running last week and fired a couple hundred scientists working on a revolutionary new STD test system. It's, I mean, we already learned that with COVID. It's better if you don't test it, you know? If you don't test it, then it doesn't exist. Our dean keeps emailing students to contact congressmen saying our school is cooked without research funding.